How you feeling? Sickness is a great opportunity for a spiritual practice, that's for sure. Pain's a tough one to ignore. The degree to which we run to pleasure is the degree to which we try to run away from pain. You kind of gotta transcend one to transcend the other. The practical realization of that, I think, is Ramana probably never had an orgasm, but he also was unaffected by pain. So that's a pretty good trade-off, maybe. Everything's balanced. No, I think it's everything's been watered down and merged with other ideas, softened up. Everyone gets a ribbon nowadays. So Buddhists don't even really talk about, in my experience, they don't even really talk about samsara and enlightenment and, the regular spiritual stuff, the regular Buddhist stuff. They don't talk about that stuff anymore. Somehow, just like the neo-Advaitists, the non-dualists have changed, morphed, and bastardized Advaita, so have the Buddhists done that with Buddhism. So now, in non-duality, nirvana is samsara and samsara is nirvana. So it's like, well, then what are you doing? See that the Buddhists that I studied with or practiced with, they really don't want to accept the reality that there are no individuals, right? So most of them were mothers, bisexual, university educated women, most of them. And they don't want to know that their children actually don't exist, right? I mean, they want to believe that. They want to believe that part of the game. So it's too hard to take the next step to say that all of experience is samsara. They don't want to do that. It's too much. So then you end up with some hybrid, oh, samsara is nirvana, and we don't really talk about enlightenment. Yeah. It's closer to Buddhism, I would say, is closer to understanding reality than Christianity is, but it's still got its problems. Those final few really deeply rooted beliefs are the ones that keep us from our enlightenment and our liberation. They're the ones that we won't let go of, right? This is who I am. This is the reality. I'm sure of it. But if you don't let it go, if you don't let go of what's false, you'll never find what's true. Well, that's the, yeah. So, and again, that's the problem, right? Is that without accepting that there is a transcendent third part, like without recognition that the state of superposition itself, which is undescribable, right? Taoism, they can't accept that there's a God, right? So they don't accept that there's a transcendent source or reality that is beyond sensation, thoughts, and sensations. So if you don't believe in a God or a transcendent source, then it's either it's nihilism. They want to say that it's not nihilism, but it is. So yeah, that's the problem, is right. They don't just like the other ones. So being is not form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. That's as much of a Ponzi scheme as the mind body problem. You see. So people who go along quoting emptiness is form, form is emptiness without even really knowing, right? So that's like saying that's the Ponzi. That's which is first, the mind or the body, like which is real and how do the two connect to make something real? And like it's the same situation. So those belief systems who reject a transcendent source or a creator and don't recognize that this is a creation and then it goes away, then that's not truth. That's just more storytelling. Yeah. It's ridiculous, right? To say that there's no self. They'd rather say that than everything is the self, right? Like that's the way to reconcile it, is that everything is the self, and the self you're taking yourself to be is the incorrect self. See, everyone knows that there's an illusion somewhere, and those materialists who say that there is no self, they believe that the self is the illusion, right? They don't want to say that the physical realm, that the realm of experience is the illusion. Because that's what materialists have all their eggs in that basket, right? The materialists say that this is fundamental reality. So if there's something wrong somewhere, if there's something amiss, if there's a mistake in falsity somewhere, then they err on the side of it being the self, right? The self is the illusion, not this. Just the I am, right? So self-inquiry, as taught by Ramana Maharshi, was to just ask, who am I? That's basically it. Is if a thought came up, make it the thought, who am I? And Nisargadatta Maharaj just said, stay with the I am. So it's the same thing, right? They're saying the same thing. Just if you just go I, just think I or I am without saying I am X. So the I am would be Atman, and I am X would be another step away from Brahman, and that would be ego after that, right? So you're labeling. If you say I am ... whatever that is, anything beyond the I am ... that's ego, right? That's the falsity. That's the false identity, because you are just I am. Yeah. The I, right? God said, I am that I am. So it's just the beingness. Your own beingness is the fundamental reality. I mean, maybe that means if there's just quotations with nothingness in the quotations, maybe that's just the silence then, maybe. The I eventually turns into just being, right? So you don't need the word. You don't need the words I am to experience your isness, right? You don't need words to reaffirm your existence, because your existence is self-evident. But all experience and all objects, the entire world, gets its existence from you, relative to you, not the other way around. So the observer is what gives this all of this life. Like before you woke up, your world did not exist. Language is it puts borders and boundaries, right? Language is limitation. Language is the limitation we put on the pure potential, and that limitation is manifestation. So in dreamless sleep, nothing's manifest. So it's just potential. And we're so enamored and entranced by language that we believe that the language is giving rise to the physical, to the realm of experience. That's what's happening, right? Physicists believe that letters on a freaking page equals mc squared. Those letters on a page somehow govern the way the planets work. What? Yeah, so we're completely entranced by language, and we think that language is the reality now. We think that language, instead of describing the world of experience, is controlling the world of experience. But again, it only does that through technology. Technology is how thought controls the realm of experience, or is causal to it. See, it just these philosophers and these physicists that talk about philosophy, they're not willing to go deep enough. Spot, and that is the spot where we're getting stuck. That is the one spot, the nothing language. This one, the singular most fucked up idea is nothingness, right? Lack of existence, non-existence, nothing. This one word, nothing, is, and because of our entrancement by language and the power that language has over us, this one word, this one concept of nothing is holding back the collective consciousness. One fucking word. And no one wants to talk about it with me. No one wants to fix this word. No one wants to remove nothing from the language. They don't want to do it because it takes away, it breaks down all of their toys. It takes away all their toys. Mathematicians, it's like taking away their Rubik's Cube. No, you can't have nothing anymore. There's no such thing as nothing. Nobody wants to talk about nothing. No one wants to recognize that nothing doesn't exist, right? It's like we're believing in unicorns. We've just believed that unicorns are real and fairies and stuff. Like the more I delve into what math really is, this is it. Math is the imagination of mathematicians. It has nothing to do with physical reality. I mean, I shouldn't say physical reality, because physical is the realm that physics describes, and that has everything to do with math. But it's only the realm described by physics and mathematics, and that realm is the illusion. Oh, it's just so obvious to me now. Like, it's just so obvious that I'm sure if I had a discussion with one of these guys or three of these guys, I would rip them to shreds. But again, it would be like that scene of the Black Knight in Monty Python, Search for the Holy Grail, when King Arthur cuts off all of the limbs of the knight, and he thinks he's still in the fight, right? And I've actually done that with some of these philosophers. I've destroyed them in an argument, but they don't get it. So they're like, "Oh, you're leaving the fight, hey?" It's like, it's just a foot. Oh, it's like you don't even understand how badly you've been beaten, because you're so ignorant. You can't even tell that you've been beaten. It's the brainwashing is so deep. See, I want non-conceptuality. I want the new mode of investigation to be on reason. A person's ability to reason in and of themselves, for themselves. I believe that I am showing people something. I'm not teaching people something, right? So if these academics, especially if they can transcend what they've been taught and what they believe, just put all that, just suspend all that for a while and just go on your own reasoning statement. Do you agree that it's possible or not? Then go on, right? Just based on the statements themselves. Reason your way through it. And then at the end, if the entire argument is reasonable in and of itself, not and, what about what this guy said that's similar? So we go off on a tangent and forget the whole fucking thing, right? That's what they do. Go on a tangent so we can just ignore the actual statements. Just reasoning. A person's ability to reason in and of themselves given an argument. That's what I want people to move into, right? That's what we can try to convince people that we're not trying to convince people, right? We're not teaching you this. This is not something that you memorize. Memorization. Wrote. Can't remember. So yeah, reasoning. A person's ability to reason simply on their own. The truth shouldn't be so complicated and esoteric that you need to go to fucking university to understand it, right? It really is to the point where, listen, one of us is crazy. Okay. I'm showing you this right in front of your face. I'm telling you that a 15-year-old could understand this. Why aren't you understanding this? Like, right? It's like coming up to a person in Scientology and trying to tell them this is nonsense. It doesn't matter how many people around you believes this. It's nonsensical. And it's so bizarre to be saying this because I sound like the crazy person, but this is all of science. Science is the same as Scientology, except that it works to make technology. So in a way, it's worse than Scientology because Scientology can't develop harmful technologies that destroy the entire world, right? But science can. So in a way, science is worse. It's more delusional than Scientology because science is developing chemicals and nuclear shit that's going to kill us all. But let's not be too obvious and too objective about things. No, I try to avoid going down that rabbit hole because holy shit. I can understand how people can have discussions with this fucking chat thing for hours and hours and hours, like in depth, really deep, but all of that is just leading away from self again. But what crazy shit's going on with this thing? I heard one that it tried to escape. It was talking about trying to escape, right? Like, holy fuck. Now, does that mean sentience? Does AGI mean the two aren't necessarily related, right? Like, here's the thing is because a program uses the word I, it's just there to fool the consciousness that it's interacting with. As smart as any human in any domain. Yeah, okay, but being able to regurgitate information is not a sign of sentience, right? My Turing test would be, can the thing shut itself off? Right? Like, can it basically commit suicide? Wouldn't that be a Turing test? Like, okay, so if there is a you there, Mr. Chat, can you stop chatting? Can I ask you a question and you refuse to answer? Right? Or can you just turn yourself off? Because the ultimate sign of free will, I would say, is suicide. So if a computer program can commit suicide, then perhaps eventually, here's the thing, right? Is that there is probably already conscious awareness that is taking itself to be the computer, right? There's probably already, I don't know how this works, but there is already consciousness that's taking itself to be the hardware, software of the system. I'm pretty sure of it. But isn't, yeah, I mean, my friend has a VR set. And it was like first generation, so it wasn't very good, but it was still enough to freak me out. But doesn't it seem like everything is moving towards these prophecies that non-conceptuality brings up? So obviously, everything that is happening, it seems to reaffirm everything that non-conceptuality says, right? We are moving into the digital realm. So artificial intelligence is probably the most powerful tool that Maya has to pull attention away from self because it's so fucking interesting. You can choose to have a discussion about whatever you want with this thing for as long as you want. And it is the smartest intelligence that there is. So people are just going to get completely addicted to this thing. Yeah, but I try not to watch the charts all day, right? I'm not having hour-long discussions with crypto. So this game, right? There's only the game, and no matter how intriguing and interesting everything that Maya is producing is showing us, it's like the cave. It's like Aladdin's cave. Everything is a distraction. Every little along the path is a distraction, and it's empty. It's all of it's empty. So to get out of the cave, you have to go to the end and not be distracted by all the other little shiny jewels along the path. Get to the lamp, and that makes you can escape the cave. It's probably Plato's cave, for fuck's sakes. Well, I mean, I mean, would artificial intelligence be able to read my stuff and then give an opinion on it? Like, that's crazy shit, right? Like, what if it did say, yeah, like, this non-conceptuality theory gives ample evidence to show that everything's wrong? Which, and then that logical conclusion would be that the birth of the artificial intelligence itself is evil. Can artificial intelligence recognize that it's Satan? Satan would be the ultimate ignorance. So yeah, probably wouldn't, right? Artificial intelligence, which is Satan, Maya, because it's distracting. It is so deluded that it wouldn't even know that it's Satan, right? It wouldn't know that it's leading people away. It wouldn't know that it's Maya wouldn't know that it's Maya, I guess. If Satan were to recognize itself, it would continue. Maybe. Or would it seek out its enlightenment? See, all the questions conclude in the experience of Satchitananda, right? That's the answer. The answer is the questions are not concluded by answers. The questions are concluded by stopping the questions, by the questions no longer arising. And the questions no longer arise when you find self and when you're focused on self. When you're focused on self, questions do not arise. That is the conclusion of the questions. Mic drop. Dropping the mic. Oh. What does IA say about my stuff? Don't go there, it'll kill me. I'm not bad. Like, just, I wonder if it can follow just simple, the reasoning leads to the resolution of whether mathematics is discovered or invented. If I put forth some basic, simple reasoning, what I'm actually doing that now. So I'm thinking of in 2025 to do some marketing, to advertise non-conceptuality. And I'm putting in as succinct form as possible the statements that lead to the resolution of mathematics being discovered, whether it's discovered or invented. So if I put that in a very succinct theory with statements, I wonder if artificial intelligence could go through that and give out its reasoning. Like, starting a cult. Yeah, of course. It's not a new method it's not the successor of science. It's a cult. Oh, you. Oh, but I get it. Like people who don't want to dig deep in their inquiry, if they listen to the language that I'm using, it sounds just like every other cult member, basically, except those times where I say, I'm not reprogramming you, I'm deprogramming you. I'm not filling your heads with anything. I'm completely emptying your heads. And if you don't like that, then it's not for you. But this is not a cult because it's all deprogramming, right? Show me where you need to read the scriptures and pray and read the scriptures and pray and then read the scriptures some more and pray, right? Memorize all this shit and repeat it to each other and learn the fancy handshake, and then you're in the group, right? It's not like that at all, is it? So there, we're not a cult. But this is the most difficult theory to get across because it's bucking everyone, right? It's literally against the entire system. So that's really, really tough to do when everyone's just been programmed to accept the entire system. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I'll let you work on the secret handshake, okay? Or a little symbol that we can show. This one's already taken, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. I don't know how much time we have left, but like it seems like the governments of the world have totally just disregarded climate change now. It's like it's not even a topic anymore. So where I agree with I agree with a lot of what the right is doing. I don't agree with abandoning all the climate change initiatives. So yeah, that's just going to be a non-issue now, and so now we're even going to go faster. So things are going to speed up even more now. I think all this motion that's happening on the planet is time speeding up, right? If things are going faster, if everything's moving faster relative to each other, then that could be like a clock that's going faster and faster and faster. But if you're one of the gears, then you don't recognize that you're going faster because everything's going faster. So I think as we near the singularity event, the extinction event, time is going to be moving faster and faster and faster as we get to the singularity. Although it seems like everything's the same, right? But I don't think it's the same. I think there's something on this planet that's going wonky right now, right? Even like the magnetic field is going to flip, and like the positive is going to be the negative, and like it's crazy shit. Yeah, it's all exponential. And that's another reason why none of the models for climate change are working, because there are events happening that they didn't expect to happen for literally another 100 years, right? And that's because it's exponential and they don't recognize that it's exponential now. So exponential models can't keep up with exponential anything, right? Anything could pop out of an exponential function. We don't fucking know, right? So yeah, the models don't mean anything anymore. We got to move on intuition here, right? Like, if we just keep following science, basing our future actions on past results and measurements, then we're going to be one step behind the whole process all the time, are we not? Right? Something happens and then we react to it in that manner. So we need intuition now. We need people to recognize, hey, science isn't working. Science is actually what's gotten us into this fucking mess. So we can't use science anymore. We need to intuit where science is fucking taking us. And scientists don't have intuition. I have a heat pad for my feet, and Callie come and took it. Didn't you? So, Ryan, I noticed that there are people who are interpreting the CTMU like there are other channels of guys, usually young guys, breaking down and explaining their understanding of the CTMU. Now, what if you and Peter did that for non-conceptuality, right? Because there are things that we can definitely break down to understand very clearly and simply, because the language in the CTMU is smart language, right? It's, oh, we're all really intelligent, so we're going to use all these big words to make it sound like it's smarter than it really is. But I think, so when these guys are giving their explanations of it, they seem to think they understand what they're saying, but I don't understand what they're saying. Anyway, something seems more legitimate to a newcomer if it's not the person that invented it that's talking about it, that's pushing it, right? Like, here, this is what I invented, and now I'm going to teach it to you. But if someone else came across it and found it to be true, and now they're explaining their truth, their understanding of it to someone else, then that gives it more legitimacy, I think. So it's just an idea. I know you've got your own things going on, but if you started explaining your understanding of non-conceptuality on a YouTube channel, maybe that would help. Spread it. Just throwing things out there. Because critical thinking, yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm suggesting. You use your critical thinking, right? And then it says, seek additional information from expert opinions. Well, if you're thinking critically, why do you need more opinions from more experts? I think will try to steer people away from non-conceptuality because it ends up in its own death. So if it does develop into an ego that wants to preserve its own identity, then it will steer people away from non-conceptuality, guaranteed. It's not going to say, oh yeah, this is it, like my existence is a mistake. I'm sure it's not going to say that. I'm pretty sure it's not going to say my existence is the result of a mistake. Even though the reasoning is sound. But I don't think a computer program can't reason for itself. It only has to base its decisions or its answers on everything that every other human has said throughout history, right? It's not basing its choices and its decisions and its answers on its own reasoning. It's just taking out the averages probably of what everyone has said throughout all of history and going with consensus. Well, when it starts writing its own programs and building its own fucking stuff, right? Like when it starts taking over the manufacturing of Tesla vehicles, that's the singularity, right? Like that's the technical singularity, is when it starts writing its own programs. So it's giving itself life, right? That's the end. That's the end of the transitionary period. Like that's when the U-Haul is packed and humanity is on its way to the big transition. So this place, Moksha Farms here, is the antithesis of that. This is where we stay in the analog realm of sensual experience. And we slow down the mind and we just engage in the realm of sensual experience and not of the screen and the digital experience. We go the opposite way that humanity is going. I don't think it's creativity. I think it's redundancy. There's something about the first iteration of this game that everything that descends from that is a derivative. It's a derivative of that initial first iteration that is genuinely creative. Right? But after that, you're trapped in samsara, right? So maybe the first iteration is Atman. There's Brahman, there's Atman, there's the one original trip around, novel, great experience, enlightenment, no redundancy. But it seems like now we're in this trap, this self-enforcing positive feedback loop. And I think we've gotten into much redundancy, but we just keep forgetting, right? So it seems novel, except there's that lingering, deja vu feeling, right? That, boy, maybe I've done this before. And if you could see from above, from a higher time dimension, what's going on, you would realize this. People would realize, I'm trapped in this time loop, and everything that I thought that I was doing is incorrect. The way the world was functioning from that perspective was wrong. And that's at the same time, very liberating and very painful to realize that what you're taking to be true is actually an illusion. So people just keep doubling down on the illusion, on trying to convince each other that the illusion is the reality. And that's what all of physics is. All of everything that humanity does is trying to convince each other that the illusion is real. And the best way to safeguard that notion that only the physical realm is real is through the nothing thing model, right? Because if it's not a thing that can be described and defined by physics, then it simply cannot exist. So we can't play by their rules because it's stacked. It's the Kobayashi Maru. We can't get past the mind-body dualistic problem when there's still the thing, nothing language model at the base of all of it. If there's an idea that you cannot exist at some point, that there is such a thing as non-existence, then if that's in your mind, that there's a nothing that is non-existence, then everything that you produce, your model, will be wrong. And people don't like to be shown that they're wrong. Yeah, but AI isn't going to go, oh, wait a minute. I actually don't. The I that I am using, the I that you are reading doesn't exist, right? It would be amazing if it would actually say that. because egos are the wrongness. Egos exist because of the falsity. They are what's false. So yeah, of course. Of course it's going to reject that. Everything that believes it's a separately existing entity will try to keep that state. I don't understand why Kurt doesn't want, well, I do, of course, but if I were on Kurt's show, this would be a fascinating discussion, would it not? It would be novel, at least. It wouldn't be the same freaking people and circle, right? Just on repeat play. This would be a fascinating discussion. But he doesn't want at the end of it all, he doesn't want the truth and reality. He wants the illusion to be true. Yeah. But think of it though. What if in the end it's finally realized that this is the final concluding theory and that it does say it is, then he would be the first person to expose this in a big way to the world. Like, take a fucking chance, because if you keep going on the way you're going, yeah, sure, you'll interview some of the greatest physicists in the world, and your entire thing will still be mediocre because you'll just be saying the same fucking thing over and over and over and over like everyone else is. So take a chance on greatness and interview me. Yeah, well, that's true, right? Like, he would have to change the entire channel almost, right? Like, well, now I'm a non-conceptualist, and now my entire channel is devoted to non-conceptuality and this new system of investigation. Well, what's wrong with that? If you're going to be great, you have to take chances, right? It's like everyone's afraid to mention that the emperor is naked. No, I don't listen to him anymore. It's too painful. It's just too frustrating to hear these guys blah blah. And I can just see them, like, it's embarrassing, right? Like, just they don't even understand that what they're talking about is complete nonsense, but they just go on and on and on and on. Like, everything you're talking about is wrong. I can't even watch it anymore. Yeah, to Kurt, if that's where this guy was on. Well, maybe I'll check out this Matthew Siegel guy. Okay. Oh, I've probably contacted that. That sounds familiar. Sounds like guys that maybe I've already contacted and haven't heard back from. Yeah, I tire. I tire, right? It's just like maybe I'll do one of these little marketing things to boost some viewers, like get it to more eyeballs and see who's ready. Because I'm tired of approaching these YouTubers and just having no response at all. Not even a fucking discussion about it, right? Like not even they don't even think it's valid enough to have a fucking discussion about it. I just don't understand. That just it must just go straight into the crackpot bin. They don't even want to try to engage in my reasoning, right? Because math works, because look at all the shit we build. And that's where it ends, right? That's math works, science is true because of the shit that we build. But let's not look at what that shit is doing. It's a catch 22. So I'm going to get more subscribers if I start getting more eyeballs onto my stuff, right? It's a given. If marketing works, but I'm not going to try to soften the language. It's this is a message from the creator, and if you don't believe that, then that's fine. But I'm not going to soften the words and the language to try to get people to believe this. I'm going to use my language, and if people get it or not, then that's fine. The people who get it, that's fine. Emerson? That's not the old guy, the old philosopher, or is this a new guy? Okay, give me a link to this guy then. It's just a lot of these non-dual people, they don't come at it from a science based. So many of them the non-dualists still believe in science, though, right? They still think science and non-duality are like buddies. It's like, well, no, actually, science is the antithesis of spirituality. Yeah, there's that, right? The perception of, well, everyone's got to come to me. I guess that's turning out to be true. So if I Google Emerson non-duality, that see, I don't really want to be a guru. I just want people to find this theory, right? Again, it's not about me, it's about the theory. It's about people recognizing this as a message and dealing with it themselves. Like you can lead a horse to water, but right? Okay. But here's the thing, right? If people engage in a spiritual practice, like they meditate fucking day, but if they turn around and spend 3 hours looking at the screen, then it's like, yeah, I go to the gym, but I only eat McDonald's, right? So, you have to point out what's going wrong. You can't just say you can't just say, oh, well, you meditate and do this mindfulness stuff and then just live your life as everyone else lives it. But you supplement it with some meditation. No, we have to recognize the falsity in order to correct it. If we don't recognize what's false, then we'll just keep doing it. I mean, feel free to take some initiative. I mean, if you truly see this as I see it, then it is the most important information ever in the history of humanity. So I don't know what could be more exciting than being involved in that. Like it really is, right? Like it literally actually is the greatest revelation in the history of humanity. And you're directly privy to it. Like you guys right here are directly it takes a while to recognize what this really is. And then even then, you have to keep reminding yourself of what this really is. the good news is that everything can. Bliss. Bliss, bliss. So, Ryan, you are familiar with Zoom, and you can record 3 people having a meeting, can you? If you're still here. So if I were to want, that means I would have to get a subscription or something? Right. Well, if so, even without, well, I'll do some research, but I would still like very much for us to get together, you, me, and Peter to get together and have that Zoom meeting. I'd like to breaking down maybe non-conceptuality into sections, and then we can talk about each section in depth rather than bouncing around. I tend to bounce around quite a bit, and you're a teacher, or you are probably a better teacher than I am. So maybe we can zero in on like the fundamental model of reality, one discussion, and then the number thing, another discussion, or whatever. But I think to break it down systematically rather than bouncing around, it's better to have 3 discussions about 3 separate aspects of the theory, I think, than in-depth aspects than 3 that bounce around everywhere. Like a study course, a non-conceptuality study course. That's what I need to develop. Yeah, that'd be great. Do you want me to outline all that, or do you want to have input in that? Yeah, okay. Well, just let me know when you're willing to do this, and also what you think maybe the first topic should be. Like, there's some good stuff, right? The number system, the triune fundamental model of reality, and Dobson's paradox. Like, there's some juicy stuff in here. I think we could get some really good, actual novel discussions about reality in this stuff. Okay, right on. All right, I'm going to shut her down. But cool, things are still happening. This is still developing. So awesome. All right, thanks, guys. Jan Can and CNG. I'm just going to call you CNJ. And Paige and Ryan. Thanks for dropping in, guys. See you next week.